You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of September 27th, 2024. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we found out that Harris wall signs cost $25 on the website, but at the county Democratic campaign headquarters, they're only $5. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Bluegal.
But they make you give your name and phone number so they can get you.
They put you on some sort of list of supporters
of county Democratic supporters on the county level. So
we're on the list.
We've been on the list for a long time.
Yeah, this is not a big deal.
Yes,
but
don't think you're saving time by going down to the county board, Democratic board, for a $5 yard sign. That's when they get you.
The door was locked when we went there, and
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Nikki Budzinski door was open and the county door was locked. So I don't want to cast aspersions. They're all doing a fine. They're all volunteers and they're all doing a fine job.
Oh, sure. And our congresswoman is Nikki Budzinski. She's running in the Illinois 13th district.
Mm-hmm.
And as a Democrat, this is the first time since I've moved here in 2008, I've had a Democratic congressperson.
Yeah. Yep.
And her district is gerrymandered. Yay.
Yeah.
Cool. As far as I'm concerned, otherwise all the cornfields down here are red. But I wanted to say, I said this to you on the way home from getting a Budzinski sign for our front lawn.
Well, lunch, but yeah.
And lunch, and then we went and got a Budzinski sign. She's been in Congress for one term.
Yep.
And she has fulfilled all of my desires and expectations.
Right.
She's done very little. She's a competent backbencher who provides constituent services to her district in a competent way, and she votes with the caucus. I have not heard her once not vote with the caucus, and so she's going to help elect Hakeem Jeffries Speaker of the House. Knock wood, run outside, turn around 3 times, stomp in the snow.
Yes.
And I don't expect anything else from her beyond that. This is her job.
She's going to be, if she wins, and we hope she will, we're going to do what we can to get her, across the finish line. This will be her re-election.
Yes.
And that's
which
important.
Makes a big difference.
It makes a big, big difference.
Yeah.
And
then she's sort of established as a Congress.
She's very competent. I mean, her office was open. The county office not only was locked, but had Harris signs visible through the door.
Lord.
So
just on the other side of a locked door.
Why are you being so cruel? But here's the deal. $25 on the website, but if you go and do the scan thing at the county office, it's only $5. So let's put it this way. We just saved you $20. And if any of that should find its way into a PayPal or a Patreon for the people here, we want to say we're passing the savings along to you, the listener.
So you pass your savings along to us as podcasters.
That's right.
Depend on your support, right?
Split the $10 for us, $10 for Harris and Walls.
There you go.
Yeah, it seems fair. It's very fair.
She's doing very well.
Yes.
In the fundraising area.
Yes, she is.
Mrs. Harris.
Yes. Harris and Walls are doing extremely well, and we have more to say about that. But for now, Bluegal, why don't you talk about last week?
Last week, while we were off, we ran an episode from 2010, and we had a lot of feedback. People really liked hearing that, going in a little time capsule from 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that got us thinking that in all the time, the 14 years that we've been doing the Professional Left podcast, we've never had what we would have had in any other job. And you said this is the longest job you've ever had.
Yeah. Blogging will be the longest job I've ever had.
I was going to say, because my 20th anniversary is next month.
Right.
Or November, early November. And your 20th anniversary is next March in blogging.
Next year. Yeah, 20 years. I've been at this coal face for 20 years. So have you.
Yeah.
So have a lot of the OG bloggers. Yeah.
The OG bloggers have been around since the W administration. So we have never, in this particular job as blogger podcasters, had a performance evaluation. Damn you, HR.
Yeah.
Right?
HR's been very negligent about this.
Yes.
Now we realize we do get mini performance evaluations from you listeners
all the time.
Like every hour on the hour, all day long, every day. But we haven't had a formal sit down. But it's tricky because in addition to being the on-air talent, we are also the president and CEO of DGBG Productions.
Yes, we are.
So we're management. So depending on which hat we're wearing, are we reviewing our employees' performance or are we being reviewed by our employers? It's very, it's existential. It's confusing. I don't know what to make of it. And I can't give you a definitive answer, but I did decide to harvest like 10 or 12 and edit 10 or 12 typical evaluation questions from a bunch of HR websites. So here we go. I am going to ask Bluegal questions. You can skip ahead if you want, but we thought about this a lot and thought this is kind of interesting and fun, and we're going to enjoy doing it. So if you enjoy it, good for you. I'm going to question Bluegal mercilessly about her goals and intentions, and then she's going to turn the tables on me and do the same to me. So
okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for my performance evaluation, Driftglass.
Well, and then after the performance evaluation, just like in any other job, we're going to get on to talking about ethnic cleansing.
Right.
So,
right. Donald Trump and ethnic cleansing. That's going to be the after the performance review, the deluge, right?
Après. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're getting too clever for our own good. So question number one, what was your most significant work accomplishment since your last review and why? Huh?
Oh, wow. Going from one podcast a week to 2 and then going to 3. And when I say 3, I mean my knitting podcast, which I do on YouTube on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So, that is an accomplishment. That was a massive increase in donations, in listenership, and taking over the YouTube channel from Tammy also. She did such a great job with that. I've added to it by making new Photoshops for each episode, which attracts attention.
Right.
And so those kind of things, that kind of exponential growth that we've done since we started doing shows on Tuesday, I think is the most significant work accomplishment in the past few years.
Well, I think we've also learned that SEO is still important. So that's why we embed the words blowjob, blowjob, blowjob secretly in every podcast to just drive those.
I don't do that, but I guess you do. All right. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The things you learn in a performance review.
Subliminal. Yeah, this is a conversation. So number 2, what do you plan on accomplishing this year?
Well, the big growth and the big jump for me personally, and this is different for you, but the big jump for me is that Wednesday knitting podcast that I'm doing. And it has gotten off to just as much of a bumpy start as we had in 2010.
Well, it's video too, right? I mean, you're doing video.
Yeah. It's putting together, and I had not noticed until I started doing this. I don't think I have used my master's in education as much. I used it a lot when I was raising kids in elementary school, but putting together a lesson plan is what it is. It's putting together props and samples and, visual aids to show people what I'm talking about. And with knitting, you have to do that. So you have to have the yarn laid out. And then the other big part of it is having links for the YouTube so that people can go and check out, and they really want to. Check out the pattern that I mentioned. Check out the yarn I mentioned. Check out the teacher I mentioned, whatever it is. So it's a whole 20 to 35 minute class that I'm teaching and having to prep for it. And that takes hours.
Yeah.
So
we're both the children of school teachers, of teachers.
Yep, we are.
We know from firsthand observation, in my case of my mom and my dad, at home, how many hours of prep time go into one class.
Yeah.
and how much you go in, over the break to set up the classroom and get everything right. And that is true of podcasting if you're doing it in a way that's well-researched and you intend to give people good information. So but this is your review, not mine. What am I doing talking? So where do you see yourself and this fine DGBG production company in 5 years?
5 years, we're still going to be doing the same show that we're doing now. Because we do this because we love it.
Yeah, I think that's...
I do think we'll be taking... I will be taking more time off from time to time. I took last week off to do a knitting thing in service to my knitting podcast. And so it was a fun break, but it was also a working break. But just turning that off for a week, I realized how much of a absolute habitual grind you and I are in.
We are.
And we are always thinking about it. We're always making notes for the next show. 7 days a week. We're saying that's podcastable. And we do that 3 or 4 times a day. And as a result, we get 2 shows a week. Right. We could do 6 shows a week and it would kill us.
I didn't watch every episode because it turned out to be a pretty bad show in my estimation. Aaron Sorkin did his comedy show. Like something on the Sunset Strip or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It was the behind the scenes of Saturday Night Live, basically.
Yeah.
But it was how suicidal everyone gets because no matter how good you do on Saturday night, Sunday morning the clock goes back to 0.
Right.
And you have to do it all over again.
Right. And the people on Twitter who have said to me, "You do get a break," and several people have said, "You need to take a vacation." Don't think that we won't be there. And I think back in the back of our minds, we think the audience won't be there if we take a week off.
They'll vanish. Because
this is magic.
And because this is still unreal to us that a blank page and a microphone can become a living, become a profession.
Yep.
And one aside during your performance evaluation, there is no training program for this.
Right.
This is stuff we had to figure out starting 14 years ago on our own. Just what works and what do we do and how do we add and how do you do this and how do you edit this and how do you put together a show? And I've looked around, believe me, I've gone to our local small business administration because they offer help with small businesses and startups and, advice and stuff.
And it's restaurants, right?
And I said, this is what I do. And these are all a bunch of Republicans. So it was like, but they give advice. And they said to me, we have nothing to tell you. We have no idea how this works or why it works. And it doesn't fit any business model we understand. So, et cetera. All right. In light of that.
I also want to say, you said 5 years from now.
Yeah.
I am, as of this recording, 1,389 days away from Medicare.
Yes, I'm less.
And you're less. So we are counting the days until that happens.
We are.
Hopefully we'll make it. Currently, our Obamacare premiums are higher than our mortgage.
Yes.
And, I want to thank everyone who continues to donate to our GoFundMe for Driftglass's emergency room, where he had to go to the ER in May for his eye. And we are still, as of this month, getting brand new bills from specialists to pay a copay. And it's an $80 or $90 copay for each doctor that he saw.
Yep.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping us pay that.
And I'm honestly alive and well thanks to marrying Bluegal. I would be living under a bridge somewhere, I'm convinced, eating squirrels or dead. Honestly, I was not in a bad way, but this family life and this podcasting partnership is much saner and healthier for me than
living in the castle by yourself with
than the other
cats.
timeline. I'm just saying. Yeah. Anyway, this is not my job. This is your performance.
I'm sorry.
So what steps can we take to make your job more enjoyable, Bluegal?
Oh, well, it's always nice to look forward to a vacation from time to time.
Yes.
And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the job.
Okay. Yeah. The job this is fun. This is actually fun.
I hope that, like I said, the number one concern I have is being able to pay our bills.
Yeah.
And if there's a jump in if there's a fall in subsidies or a jump in premiums for our health insurance, there's not a lot of wiggle room right now for our budget.
There just isn't any.
So we have to hang on until we both turn 65. We're holding
and then
on.
we become raving socialists. Yep.
Well, I'm not saying, I know it's not free to be on Medicare. I know that.
Yeah, but
it's not going to be more than our mortgage.
No. What skills haven't you been able to showcase at work yet?
I'm still, like I said, doing the YouTube, I'm keeping it extraordinarily simple, and I wish I didn't have to keep it so extraordinarily simple. Yeah. I wish I had more skills and more time to put together an actual slideshow and so forth, and all I'm doing is just printing out things and holding them up to the camera and saying, here's a picture of what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's very, basic. And I'd like to be less basic.
The videos I watch have side videos and drop-ins and clips and cuts and so forth every 90 seconds.
Yeah, to keep it interesting.
Keeps it flashing and moving and going forward. But, we'll get there.
And the feedback I get from my audience, though, is I'm knitting to this. That's what they say.
Right.
They're watching me and knitting to what I'm doing. So keeping it calm and showing a picture is fine for them, for the 25 people watching my knitting podcast at the moment.
It's very NPR,
Yeah.
And now knitting with Bluegal.
Yeah, it's very much a calming. In my dining room, here I am showing you stuff. Yeah.
All right. So what type of work inspires you the most?
Well, I'm inspired by how we put together a show every week, and you find such fun clips to drop in and angles for how we're going to talk about something. And you're always very open to me adding something or coming up with something that's new or different. Sometimes I'll want to talk about something that I'm passionate about, like special needs children or, maternal health or something. And that's just open. Both of us are just, nope, that's got to go in the show. If you want to talk about that this week, that's got to go in the show. And we will get to David Brooks in your performance review.
He'll be sitting in on my performance review. What kind of tasks come easiest to you?
I'm shocked at how good I've gotten at payroll and taxes and making that work every month.
Yeah.
That was not that we went through some letters with the IRS, didn't we?
we went through some
2018.
things. We really went through some things.
Some things with PayPal and them thinking that PayPal had paid me twice.
Right.
And you haven't declared this amount of income, which was another year of PayPal added to my income, which would be great.
Yeah.
But I had to document and explain and just like with the Medicaid people for the children and the heating aid people when I was really poor and getting home heating aid in 2008. I had all the documentation lined up.
Yeah.
Sent it to them, and I get a letter back saying, never mind.
Yeah. I will say our interactions with the IRS, which are frequent, have been very healthy.
Oh, yeah.
They really just want you to know.
Please explain this.
Yeah.
Okay, I explain that.
Yeah.
And then they write back and say, we can't respond to your letter. We know we have to respond to your letter within 60 days, and we can't. So we're sending you this letter instead.
Yeah. The law says.
But no, I think the thing I've gotten really good at since we started this podcast is that tax part of it and paying our taxes. And my stomach doesn't tie in a knot when a letter comes from the IRS anymore.
I know.
When it first started, I was like, "Oh God,
honey!" I bring it to you.
And now I just go, "Here it is. Okay, what do they want this time?"
Are we going to jail, honey? Are we going to go? No. It's just a thing. They'll take care of it. That's not a big deal.
No.
Yeah. The business end of things is the part that I think we both had to learn a lot about.
Yeah.
Oh, because, the entrepreneur
and
end
having
of things.
actually having an attorney
An attorney and an accountant and all those things.
And I'm the accountant most of the time.
Yeah.
But having an attorney of our own that we can call, who is, in our first meeting with him, he said, most corporations are undertaxed. I'm sure you know that. Also, the IRS needs more employees. I'm sure that knowing the title of your podcast, you probably agree with me that we need more IRS agents, not less.
Yes. We get along fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out fine. But we finally hired one because of the IRS just writing us over and over again. We thought, well, maybe a letter from a lawyer will make a difference. And then we found this hippie lawyer who we're now in a relationship with this attorney, and he's our lawyer. So that's good.
So what tasks do you enjoy doing the least and why?
Oh,
I know this one. I know.
Pushing out the podcast onto 7 or 8 different Twitter-like
platforms,
platforms is just it's Elon's fault, and it just seems so unnecessary. We should just have sane people running these platforms, and we shouldn't need 8 of them. And I know we're going to get letters from people saying, well, you should definitely be on Threads, and that's it. That's all you need. Yeah. Or you should definitely be on, Spotify. That's the only one you need. No, you don't understand. When you're a what do they call us now? A broadcasting company, a production company. Mm-hmm. You have to be everywhere. You have to be everywhere.
Yes, you do. You have to.
And I've had this conversation with Bob Seska. It's draining when you've spent 12 hours prepping and preparing and recording and editing and uploading one podcast, and it's 8:00 at night, and you have to open 9 tabs and start sending out to everybody the same message. There's a new episode up. You're at the lowest point of your energy of the day. It's just exhausting.
Yeah.
You should be able to send it out one time.
And honestly, most of the podcasts and instructive videos I watch on YouTube about any subject, there's a production team that isn't the on-air talent.
Right. Right.
Separate, and that's fine. And they work really hard, and you can see the quality of their work. But there is some third or fourth party involved, or fifth party, or a company or a network involved that picks up a lot of this slack, and we don't have that.
And I don't know what the equation would be to, if you had this many more Patreon supporters, then you could actually pay for a production team to work for you,
right,
and make the money back, and because.
Right. That's above.
It's just the two of us.
Yeah. Which is, I find that weirdly reassuring and daunting and frightening. Anyway, on with, by the way, you're doing very well in your performance evaluation. We're thinking of renewing your contract for another 6 months.
Uh-huh.
This is kind of a loaded question. What professional development opportunities are you looking forward to exploring in the upcoming year?
Learning video editing. Yeah. Or finding an AI software package that I can afford.
Yeah.
Will help me do that. Yeah.
What are your organization's primary drivers of success? How do you measure success over there at the
listeners? And we're not obsessed about our stats.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not obsessed about how many Patreons we have in a month. But, we also know that the 6 or 7 weeks leading up to an election are a low point for both emails to us and additional contributions to us, because people are giving their money elsewhere.
Yeah.
Also, in May, there is always a drop in listenership and extra contribution. The people that donate every month, they just keep donating every month.
Right.
But there is a drop in May because everybody goes to their gardens or goes on vacation or, is mowing their lawn or whatever they're doing. When the weather starts to get nice in May in most of the United States, we see a noticeable, and this is true of blogs too, just a noticeable, there's that May drop.
Right.
And so we're seeing it now and we know people are donating to Kamala Harris for president. So
we are.
get that. Well, we did.
Yeah.
We did when Joe Biden endorsed her. We were in that, and I attended one of the Zoom calls, and I donated at that time too. So
I've been wondering where all the money's been going. It's been going to Nikki Basinski, hasn't it?
Well, $5 a month goes to our congressperson. Yes.
Now, last question: do you have everything you need to perform your job effectively?
Oh,
yes.
You know. I always love a little more snuggle time with my husband, podcast partner. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, the problem is when we go to bed, we just conk out.
Boom.
Yeah, that head that hits the pillow.
And then there's some cats who want to come and sit on our heads.
Yeah, sleep on my pillow above my head.
All right. Well, very good. You've done very well. Congratulations. I will sign off on this in 4 to 6 weeks.
Turn the tables.
In 4 to 6 weeks, you'll hear from HR. So,
the big raise, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. I'll be more than executive producer. Maybe I'll get an executive producer credit out of this, right?
No guarantees, but we'll see what we can work out, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
All right. Driftglass, what was your most significant work accomplishment since your last review, and why?
Making it this far, I think. Just nearly 20 years blogging, 14 years podcasting, not really ever missing a week on any of those things. It's just the sheer volume of things. I look back at stuff I wrote 10, 15 years ago. I'm like, damn, I was a good writer. Where did I go wrong? But I think just, getting the job done and getting it done every day, getting up every day, staying current. I mean, it's a fucking fire hose of everything all the time. And to do specifically a 1 hour podcast or two 1 hour podcasts, we could just read headlines for an hour. And that's easy. I mean, there are podcasts that do that. That's fine. But I really like the idea of we tell a story. We give our audiences value by telling them how to interpret events that are happening around them, what to look for, why things are the way they are, and doing that in a narrative form. And that's a storytelling skill. And I'm kind of pleased that I've figured out how to do that more often than not.
What do you plan to accomplish this year?
A 64th birthday party. Yeah. I plan to live to be 64. Never thought I would.
You thought you'd be dead under a bridge. Yeah.
But by the time I was 30, I figured, I'm done. So all of this is gravy.
Where do you see yourself and the organization in 5 years?
Again, sweet Medicare, Social Security. At that point, I just don't give a shit about any of this stuff. The world can burn.
That's not true.
No, that's not true. I would like to see us doing well enough to be able to sponsor some events. To sponsor
I would like that too.
To sponsor a Midwest, because there's just a whole bunch going on in the Midwest, and it's where all the swing states are that are of importance. And we're out here, and we know our stuff, and we know people who are in Indiana and Tennessee and Missouri and so forth. And but all
we need to have a pro-left podcast meetup in Springfield for 3 days, and people can go to the Lincoln Museum.
Yeah,
and there's one Frank Lloyd Wright House in Springfield.
There is. Go to the
and we'll
tomb.
Charter a bus so everyone can drive by our front yard and wave.
Right.
We can't have you in because it's a 1,900 square foot house, but you can wave at our little house.
Yeah. We'll have maps of the stars home. There'll be one star on it. It'll be us.
There you go, with one star.
But I think being able to be big enough and successful enough to put out the call and have more than 3 people show up.
Yeah.
I just have this feeling that we would say, guys, the Midwest has gotten ignored. All the action in terms of networking, and whenever anyone goes on tour, they go to New York, Atlanta, Chicago, DC, LA. And nobody ever comes to Springfield. Nobody ever comes to Champaign. I mean, there's a lot going on here. I would like to have a meetup workshop kind of thing that would last at least a couple of days, where we could get a couple of dozen people to meet each other and interact and exchange notes and do what we do and talk and listen with each other. And I think that'd be great. I'm not sure we can do it, but I'd love to see it done.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
What steps can we take, Driftglass, to make your job more enjoyable?
Elect Kamala Harris. That'd be great. Amen. I would love to be able to talk about policy and manufacturing policy and infrastructure policy and healthcare shit
You have completely forgotten the Obama administration, Driftglass.
I know.
We did not spend those 8 years talking about policy. We talked about...
some of us did. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you weren't listening to a word I was saying. But,
well, no, you were. But there was just a lot of racist bullshit 24/7.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
I'm saying what steps can you take to make my job more enjoyable? Okay, let me modify that. Kamala Harris is elected and Tim Walz is elected and racism disappears.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. But I would like to be able to write 20% of the time about manufacturing, trade, and infrastructure policy, and actually have that
science fiction.
And science fiction. I'd like to be able to, deal the cards a little bit differently. Anyway.
Yeah. What skills have you not been able to showcase at work? Oh, I know the answer to this one.
My ballroom dancing.
Hubba.
Yeah.
Ballroom dancing. That's
ballroom
it.
Dancing. My workout routines, my various workout routines.
There you go.
And
all that deck building.
Yeah. Well, I took some video of me ripping that deck out and rebuilding it. So maybe I should just put that up and say, we're done here.
What type of work inspires you the most?
I like writing short stories.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, the trick to doing what we do, I think, at least for me, is when you get burned out and bored typing words in a row, go play with images and graphics in Photoshop.
Right.
Just use a different part of your brain. And if I can just keep rotating through the things that I want to do in different formats. And honestly, the most fun thing I can think of as a writer is when I'm sitting around just doing nothing or thinking about stuff and something occurs to me that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Or it gives like, ha, 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 ha. And I write it down real fast, and then I have to build a post around it or a podcast around it. But that kind of thing, when it's just something comes down from heaven and lands in my lap, and it's perfect, and I go, that's great. I feel transcendent at moments like that.
Well, and I love how clever you are.
Aww.
Like when you suggested this week that it was probably a bad idea for us to name the renewal of our wedding vows Project 2025.
Yeah, that was on second thought. That was in hindsight.
That was not a great idea.
Yeah.
What kind of tasks come easiest to you?
Oh, that's easy. I'm at the grocery store. Little old lady needs something off a top shelf. Boom, I'm there for her. Tall stuff, top shelf stuff. Those are
writing
easy
a check on the top of the refrigerator.
Yeah, which I do because that's my flat surface. Yeah.
Yeah. What task do you enjoy doing the most, and why?
Man, I really enjoy interacting with our kids.
Yeah.
It's not much of a task, honestly, but hearing their wisdom and hearing what they've learned in college and engaging with them on the level of what makes them passionate. And you can see their eyes light up when they're talking about something that interests them. Boy, do I enjoy that. That is thoroughly, it's not podcast related. I mean, I steal everything. I steal from everybody for writing and for podcast. But they're
so funny. And I know this is typical of empty nesters and so forth, but they come home for a doctor appointment or to get their car's oil changed or whatever. And you think you're going to sit down to dinner with them or whatever. And it's like, I got to go have coffee with Susie.
Yep.
Their friends, their local friends are who they're here to see. And and the cats.
Absolutely. That's fine.
If they come home and we're going to a meeting or a dinner, it's how dare you?
How dare you? Don't you realize this time is precious, mother?
Didn't you put it in your calendar that I was going to be home? Yeah, but you're going out with Susie. Yeah. So we're supposed to be houseplants in here. And it's very funny. Very typical. All right. What tasks do you enjoy doing the least and why?
I do not enjoy staring at a blank page.
Oh, yeah.
And not knowing what the hell I'm going to write about, if I'm going to write about anything, or is it all over? Do I burn down my blog? It's all quits. I'm done. I'm over.
Goodbye, cruel world.
I don't have one more thing to say to anybody about anything. I have no inspiration. I don't know what to do. And usually I just grab a book or something and just thumb through it and read, or go watch some old movie, and then something goes clickety-click, and I'm lucky that way. Some people that never happens to. But, man, that blank page, it's a mile wide and it's a mile long, and it's dangerous, scary.
Yeah. Well, I have noticed that there's a certain time in the morning when you will go start puttering around the house.
Yes.
You'll collect trash, or you'll take the laundry down to the basement, or you'll do the litter boxes or whatever it is. And I know he hasn't found something to write about yet.
Gotta get my motor running somehow.
Yeah. What professional development opportunities are you looking forward to exploring in the upcoming period? And do you need continual progress? Do you need a consultant in the continual process improvement field to help you?
Yeah. I don't know what. I really don't know the answer to this question, because for me, a skill is something I have to use or lose. Mm-hmm. And right now, I can't think of any skills that I could acquire that would require weeks of. First of all, there's no actual professional development for bloggers anywhere within 1,000 miles of this house. We're it, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe teaching a class in this would be great. But if I don't use the skill, then it's of no use to me because I'll forget it. Mm-hmm. So, and right now I'm sort of cranking on all cylinders all the time just to do what we already have. I'd love to take off a month and go to a writer's workshop.
Yeah.
And just do narrative writing, just do screenwriting, just do some other kind of writing. And that would be great, but it wouldn't serve the podcast. So, at this point, that's what I do.
This is our job. Yeah. What are the organization's primary drivers of success? That's such an HR question.
It is. What do you think? Well, I honestly, I think they are. The one that really strikes me is how many people are walking around on social media going, "Both sides don't."
Yep, and catching them
them doing that. How many people are saying no fair remembering stuff?
Yep.
How many
people are starting to catch burn the lifeboats as well?
Yeah. There's a certain kind of pleasure not in brainwashing a bunch of people into doing my bidding.
Yeah.
Which, that's delightful, but it never works out the way you think it does. But seeing something clearly enough to be able to articulate it clearly enough and then banging on the door long enough so that people start going, hey, that's a damn good point. And people start noticing what you've seen all along and taking up that cause and going, wait a minute, there is something completely fucking wrong with the New York Times.
Right.
Why are they? And at some point, that is not a quantifiable thing. I mean, you can quantify by number of listeners and amount of dollars and whatever.
Yeah.
All that's important.
Yeah.
But I don't care about the stats that much. I don't pay any attention to them unless I have to. We get stats from Chartable and other things. I don't pay any attention to them because it's not what I'm doing this for. But when I see people doing good work that I've helped to inspire them to do or given them the tools to do, I feel really good about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have everything you need to perform your job effectively?
No. I think this job could be much better done if I had massive video editing skills or we had a staff of people. But given the parameters on which we operate, then the answer is yes. I have everything I need. I have the support of a beautiful wife, and we have listeners who like us and listen to us and give us feedback, even if it's feedback about, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Why aren't you talking about what I want you to talk about? Yeah. And who are supportive of us, not just
Very
financially,
so.
which we appreciate, but it's just you and me sitting here talking into microphones.
Yeah.
And we have no idea if anyone cares or listens at all. There's no audience for us right now. There's nobody telling us.
You and I are talking to each other.
Right.
And we're aware that we're going to put this out there on the internet. And we're very aware that people are donating, that we live off of donation. So
there's no, I mean, during the act of podcasting or writing, unlike a Broadway show, there's no audience.
Right. There's no live audience.
So we have no idea what the feedback really is until it's, this is more of a movie. It's in the can, it's been edited, and suddenly it's Heaven's Gate and everyone hates it or whatever.
Or it's Barbie.
Or it's Barbie and everyone loves it. It's controversial, but not really. Go ahead and say controversial one more time.
One goddamn time. Seriously.
Is that the end of my performance evaluation?
You've done very well this year, Driftglass.
Thank you.
For 14 years.
I'm sitting here like literally, as you know, my studio is a closet with my clothes in it. And I'm looking at my flannels and my jeans.
Because it's time. It's
Well,
that time of year.
No. I'm looking at my flannels and my jeans because that's this end of the closet. The other end of the closet where I hardly ever go are where all my suits are.
Oh, yeah. From back in the day.
Which I almost never wear. And you know what?
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I kind of like that, jeans and a t-shirt are my uniform now. And I can look up and see 20 ties, which I rarely wear, and a bunch of suits, which I've had for years and still fit. I prefer
Most of the time you're mowing the lawn in the flannel and coming in and podcasting in a t-shirt.
I prefer the t-shirt and jeans life to the suit and tie life. I'll tell you that.
And the
right
minivan. Don't forget the minivan.
Yeah. All right.
Man, did you ever think you'd be toting around 3 kids in a minivan? Those were the golden days, I tell you.
And everything else since then has been downhill.
Well, they've just gone. They're just gone.
They flew past.
They did. They really did. All right.
Now, there's no way.
This week in ethnic cleansing, Driftglass, is that really the transition we're making?
I could not for the life of me. You know what? I don't have everything needed to perform my job effectively because I couldn't come up with a transition between this and this week in ethnic cleansing.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. These are the times we live in.
They really are.
And this is what we're running against in the Democratic Party. We're running against ethnic cleansing.
Now, this also gives me the opportunity to read something that I wrote 2 months before the 2016 election. And this is what I wrote about Donald Trump in 2016. Quote, next speech, Trump on a pile of skulls, waving a machete, yelling, cleanse. Next New York Times headline, Trump pivots to center on citizenship policy, unquote.
It's true.
That was September 1st, 2016. And I'll just add this. I went back on my blog to 17 years this week and clipped out a couple of paragraphs about the mainstream media and the Republican Party and what an incestuous, destructive relationship they are, how they refuse to see what was happening right in front of them. That was 17 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one, but there are plenty of us out there who've been saying this stuff forever. And now it's coming true enough so that more people can see it happening in real time. And it's both maddening and sort of satisfying, but it's also tragic because this all could have been prevented. It all could have been avoided if the Republican Party had done what it was supposed to do and not invite the bigots and imbeciles into the party and make them the power center of the GOP.
Yeah. Well, and, our listener, Steve, had a tweet this week about the mainstream media's dead cause of death, suicide.
Yeah, it killed itself. It's suicided. Yeah. And we watched it happen. We watched it happen. Told them, put it down, put the knife down, and they wouldn't do it.
No. You always thought there would be shopping malls and business centers where everybody commuted to every day, Monday through Friday.
Nope.
And that ended. And the New York Times is becoming a feature magazine where people go for book reviews and puzzles, and no one reads the news from there because it's awful. And they're killing themselves. Anyway, all right. So ethnic cleansing. Yeah, this was Trump this week from the Washington Post, Dateline Springfield, Ohio, and our sister city there, Springfield, same name. Our thoughts are with you. Just what has happened to you, you do not deserve.
No.
Quote, Trump has a new chant at his rallies, send them back. Isn't that great? Former President Donald Trump continued attacking the immigrant population in an Ohio town during a campaign rally Monday in Pennsylvania, saying, you have to get them the hell out. As Trump spoke in Indiana, Pennsylvania, the crowd chanted, send them back. For weeks now, Trump has singled out Springfield, Ohio, over its Haitian population, echoing baseless claims that immigrants are eating pets and calling the immigrants illegal despite their legal status. His attacks have upended life in the small town where the Republican mayor has pleaded for civility and amid bomb threats and event cancellations for security reasons. Trump made his latest comments about Springfield at Monday's rally while accusing Democrats of wanting to inundate Pennsylvania communities with migrants, changing the character of small towns and villages all over our country and changing them forever, unquote. Do you think Springfield will ever be the same? Trump said. The fact is, and I'll say it now, you have to get them the hell out. You have to get them out. I'm sorry. Get them out. Can't have it. They've destroyed it. Trump's campaign promoted a video clip of Trump's comments on Twitter X. After the chants, Trump added, "It's terrible to say, and it's a tough thing to do."
Mm-hmm.
Unquote.
And this is Donald Trump the next day. Quote, "The mayor is actually looking for interpreters because they can't understand. The language is totally different. What the hell? I'm sorry. You have to move the people back to the country from which they came. You have to," unquote. Now, make no mistake, Trump and Vance are talking about ethnic cleansing. That is their agenda, open, naked agenda. And this was Trump again later in the week. Quote, "We wouldn't have hostile takeovers of Springfield, Ohio, Aurora, Colorado, where they are actually going in with massive machine gun type equipment. They're going in with guns that are beyond even military scope, and they are taking over," unquote.
And then there is Trump's latest conspiracy theory that seems to involve IKEA hiring Iranian death squads. I don't understand. He says, quote, "All your furniture makers are going to come back bigger and stronger and better than ever before. They're mostly gone. They're all coming back. This is why people in countries want to kill me," unquote. And on Wednesday, Donald Trump threatened to blow Iran to smithereens if he returns to power. A leading Iranian American advocacy group, which is an American group in the United States, condemned his statement as genocidal, because it is.
Because it is. He's going to bring back whale oil industry. Buggy whip manufacturers are going to be profiting like no one's ever seen before. And it's all to scare the hell out of a bunch of bigots and idiots into thinking they're losing their country to hardworking immigrants who are here legally and then getting their votes.
When they are all descendants of immigrants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, where the dear leader leads, his slimy racist goons follow. This was disgraced racist former cop Clay Higgins, who the good people of Louisiana decided for some reason to send to Congress. LOL, these Haitians are wild, eating pets, voodoo, nastiest country in the Western Hemisphere, cults, slapstick gangsters, but damned if they don't feel all sophisticated now, filing charges against our president and vice president. All these thugs better get their minds right and their asses out of our country before January 20th. That was Clay Higgins of Louisiana, a U.S. congressperson.
A U.S. congressman said that.
Yep. And there was such an uproar over it because Higgins is such an openly racist scumbag that House Speaker smarmy Mike Johnson had to take time away from auditing his son's porn habits to pray over it. This is Mike Johnson. "Clay Higgins is a dear friend of mine and a colleague from Louisiana and a very frank and outspoken person. He's also a very principled man. I didn't even see it, but he tweeted something today about Haitians," unquote. And the reporter asked him or said, "He told them to get out of the country by January 20th. Dumbass. Johnson, quote, "Okay." He was approached on the floor by colleagues who said that was offensive. He said he went back and he prayed about it and he regretted it and he pulled the post down. I'm sure he probably regrets the language he used, but we move forward. We believe in redemption around here, unquote. Fake Christians are the worst.
How'd that
Christians.
redemption work out for him? Hours later, Higgins told CNN that he stood by his comments, adding, quote, "It's all true. I can put up another controversial post tomorrow. I'll say what I want. It's not a big deal to me. It's like something stuck to the bottom of my boot. Just scrape it off." So that's where the repentance and prayer was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Several commenters noted that in addition to being a racist asshole, Higgins apparently believes that Trump and Vance are president and vice president already.
Yep. And we should remember that Mike Johnson's from Louisiana, Clay Higgins from Louisiana, John Kennedy's from Louisiana. You know, Louisiana, you're letting the
there's an awful lot
down.
of black voter suppression in Louisiana.
There sure as hell is. Now, this is from the Associated Press. A Haitian nonprofit group filed criminal charges against Trump and J.D. Vance for continuously repeating the baseless, false online conspiracy theory that Haitian immigrants were eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. The complaint filed by Haitian Bridge Alliance alleges that Trump and Vance had a, quote, direct impact, unquote, on 33 bomb threats that disrupted city services and temporarily shut down the schools. The charges include disrupting public service, making false alarms, committing telecommunications harassment, committing aggravated menacing, and violating the prohibition against complicity. By the way, he's doing all this shit when he's not in the White House, which means he's not immune to any of this.
Right. That's what's going on the Republican side of the aisle. Over on our side, Kamala Harris had a substantive interview with Stephanie Ruhle on MSNBC.
Yep.
And the reactions were mixed in exactly the way you would expect them to be mixed.
Yeah.
And you said, Driftglass, that there were 3 tiers of response.
Yeah.
And the first one, I know about the first one. The first one was, it was a 30-minute interview. She was very prepared. She used a lot of statements from her stump speech, which is already about the economy.
Right.
And she did not, in a very disciplined way, the way a politician running for office should be, she was consistent between what she's saying on the stump and what she said in the interview in terms of her goals.
Yes, absolutely.
It didn't make news except for the fact that it happened because she stayed on message.
It was boring.
That's a good thing.
It was the most boringest because you stuck to that.
Why didn't Stephanie Ruhle ask her about her menstrual cycle or something?
Right. Well,
and I don't know.
And Vice President Harris fact-checked Stephanie Ruhle a couple of times.
Yeah.
Brought, facts, figures, statistics to the table and said, no, this is what happened. Here's how many jobs were lost under Trump. He's a loser. He lost more jobs and she had the facts and figures there. It was a boring.
Did Chuck Todd say she was over-prepared, Driftglass?
Well, yeah, and there's the problem. You've now hit on tier number 2. Now, tier number 2 is Fox News and all those people who are just going to lie about it. Because the chumps and mouth breathers and bigots and morons who watch those things.
You mean Tommy Tuberville.
I mean Tommy Tuberville and Clay Higgins and the rest of these douchebags. Yeah. These people are never going to hear the real interview. They're going to hear what Sean Hannity tells them, they said. Like a mama bird chewing up food and spitting in their baby's mouth. That's what the Fox News people do. They spare their audience the enormous effort of listening to a 30-minute interview and drawing their own conclusions or learning anything. They're just going to interpret this through their body cavity and poop it out, and that's what the Fox News audiences will believe. That's the second tier. The third tier is the Chuck Todd tier. The third tier is the savvy pundits in the legacy media, especially the New York fucking Times, for whom no interview will ever be sufficiently anything. It's always going to be, well, she didn't talk about this. She didn't talk about that. What about this? She needs to smile more. Why is she smiling so much? She didn't. And it's all this vindictive, bitchy, A.G. Schulzberger attitude that trickles down at the New York Times that it doesn't matter what she does. She did it wrong. It was on the wrong network. The questions weren't what we wanted. They didn't do any gotcha stuff. She was over-prepared.
Well, she's not sitting down for 4 days with the New York Times editorial board and letting them vet her. That's the problem.
And she sticks to her speech and the facts and her prepared remarks. And she doesn't wander off script. She has what we call message discipline, which is a good thing. What they want is... And they get all of their entertainment value from Trump, who just lies all the time.
But Hannibal Lecter, how does she feel about Hannibal Lecter?
Right. And she was asked about that, as you might recall, already, about defending her race or whatever the hell it was. And she said, same old playbook, next question.
Yep.
It's like, I'm not going to dignify this bullshit with an actual grown-up answer because it's nonsense.
Yep.
Now, as you know.
I want to say next week, vice presidential debate. Do we care? I'm looking forward to seeing Tim Walz.
I'm looking forward to Tim Walz getting on the stage. Football Coach Walz getting out there, putting his shaking JD Vance's hand, but also putting his hand on his shoulder like a coach would and say, JD, going through life as a lying scumbag is no way to go through life, kiddo. That's
your children have to look at you in the end of the day.
That's right. You got to be a role model. You're out there on the field. You're showing the people who you are. And God bless you, you're showing your ass all the time. You know, that lying asshole leading you around by the nose. Didn't you ever see the Pinocchio about the cursed island where everybody turns into a jackass? Son, you're turning into a jackass in front of everybody. Maybe you want to pull out before it's too late. You're a young man. You can find other work. Don't worry about it. You're going to be a senator for the next 20 years. Why be a crazy one? Anyway, I'm hoping that's the way it'll go. Who knows? And finally, just for fun, this week, because it's both sides do it month now, you're going to see both siderism just peaking everywhere because that's all the savvy media has. That's all the legacy media has. This was a museum quality example of both siderism. And I'm quoting it now, quote, "The constancy and brazenness of Mr. Trump's lies can blind us to the fact that his opponent lie too. Though she did not descend to the level of Mr. Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris did not strictly adhere to the truth at the presidential debate earlier this month. Mr. Trump, she asserted, had said that there were fine people among the neo-Nazis and white supremacists in Charlottesville 7 years ago, an oft-repeated distortion of a statement Mr. Trump made at the time that nonetheless remains an article of faith among American liberals," unquote. Now, for those of you playing at home, can you guess which 173-year-old New York-based media corporation published this drivel?
Gosh, I don't know.
Where could this be coming from? Who knows? Who can tell?
Wow.
Yeah.
He let the words "very fine people on both sides" out of his mouth.
He did.
And the context was Charlottesville.
Absolutely.
That's a fact.
Yeah, but that's not
fact.
That's not precisely exact. Let's parse it down to the nanometer.
Yeah.
And this really is the New York Times just showing its ass, showing us all who they really are. There is a wonderful article in SF Gate by Drew Magery, I believe his name is, entitled, let me just scroll up real quick here. The New York Times is washed. SF Gate's columnist Drew Magery is done with caring about the Times, and you should be too. We'll put a link to that in our podcast notes. It's just, we're done. We're done. This is a vindictive, bitter paper that no one reads except for the puzzles and the style
book review
section.
Yeah.
And the fact that that the rest of the media has been gutted, has eaten itself alive, and it's the last big predator out there that does actual news collection, so people find it valuable for that reason. But it's not worth it because what they're doing to our politics is so incredibly toxic, and it's been going on for so long that at some point, if you're still reading them, you're the problem. I guess that's the point. Speaking
Let's
of which,
do a news roundup, Driftglass.
Round up that news for us, Bluegal.
Eric Adams, the sitting New York City mayor, to the surprise of no one, has been indicted on federal charges. A sitting mayor can be charged, as can a sitting senator, a sitting congressman. But DOJ policy is that a sitting president cannot. And then there's the Supreme Court.
Donald Trump told lonely women that he's their protector and that they'll no longer be thinking about abortion if he wins in November. He did it in all caps, but just saying that to you right now doesn't really convey the flavor of the aggressive stalker craziness that jumps off the screen. So take it away.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free. You will no longer be thinking about abortion because it is now where it always had to be, with the state.
Thank you to Mrs. Medeiros on TikTok for your fine performance, bringing Trump to life in all of his screaming berserk glory.
From CNN, jury selection is set to begin today in a closely watched defamation trial pitting voting technology company Smartmatic against Chris Ruddy's Newsmax.
Yeah.
Barring a last-minute settlement, which is common in cases like these, both sides are girding for a showdown in Delaware Superior Court, where a similar lawsuit between Fox News and Dominion was famously settled last year for a record $787.5 million. The Newsmax case revolves around the same false claims.
Bye, Felicia. This is what we mean when we say they're reprogrammable. This is from Aaron Blake in the Washington Post. 5 years ago, 21% of Republicans said increasing racial and ethnic diversity and immigrants were mostly threatening to American culture per CNN polling. That number is now 55%. That is due to constant racist repetition by the entire conservative media establishment.
The AP reports that Alex Jones' InfoWars media platform and its assets will be sold off piece by piece in auctions to help pay the more than $1 billion he owes relatives of victims of the Sandy Hook shooting under an order expected to be approved by a federal judge. Hal Sparks has dibs on Alex Jones's desk.
The big ugly desk?
Yep.
Oh, I wanted that for Christmas. But okay, Hal, you win. This is from NBC4 in Ohio, Dateline Lebanon, Ohio. Ohio's Republican candidate for U.S. Senate questioned why a certain group of women would be concerned about abortion during an event in the state. NBC4 obtained a video recording from a Warren County town hall on Friday where GOP Senate hopeful Bernie Moreno accused suburban women of being focused solely on their ability to get an abortion. Bernie Moreno says women are single-issue voters for abortion during this Ohio town hall. Quote, sadly, by the way, there's a lot of suburban women that are like, listen, abortion is it. If I can't have an abortion in this country wherever I want, whenever I want, I will vote for anybody else. Okay, it's a little crazy, by the way, but especially for women that are like past 50, I'm thinking to myself, I don't think that's an issue for you, unquote.
2 words, chemical castration.
Yeah, and not for the ladies.
No.
Honestly, I just can't. Do you know any women? Do you know any women with daughters or with nieces
or who just like bodily autonomy and being treated as first-class citizens?
Who like their civil rights to be not trampled on by assholes like you?
Their bodies to be their own and their own decisions.
Yeah. This is Homer Simpson. Women will like what I tell them to like.
Yeah, absolutely. This is how cartoonishly bad this used car salesman, millionaire, and again, this is Mitch McConnell handing out Senate seats to donors and saying, you get to run in Ohio because you gave the Republican Party money. So here,
go ahead. Good luck to you.
That's the vetting. How much money did you give me? Trump is selling Trump watches for $100,000 apiece. The jokes write themselves. Friend of the pod, 10 Grain, said he'd never seen a watch with 2 small hands. It's a Crapple watch, not an Apple Watch. Crapple.
Yeah.
You have to reset it every year because it skips January 6th.
Yeah.
But A
lot of jokes out there in the world, and it's just grifting. He's just how much is there any more money I can squeeze out of the idiots out there by selling them garbage with my name on it?
Yep.
More than 400 economists and former White House policy advisors endorsed Kamala Harris's and her economic plan. The choice in this election is clear, the letter reads. It is a choice between inequity, economic injustice, and uncertainty with Donald Trump, or prosperity, opportunity, and stability with Kamala Harris.
And I would add, I'm hoping that she fills her White House, as Biden did, with Elizabeth Warren acolytes.
Absolutely.
They know their stuff.
They really do. They really do.
And finally, a reminder that when you're stupid, everything is easy.
This is so easy. This is so easy.
Political correctness for me is easy.
Presidential's easy.
Not using profanity is very easy.
Right. We're all going to make a deal on health care. That's such an easy one.
You're going to have such great health care at a tiny fraction of the cost, and it's going to be so easy.
It would be very easy and very quick to get gasoline prices down.
I can take care of China in my back pocket. That's easy for me.
Russia? Well, that's a pretty easy one. It would be so easy for me to terminate this man, ruin his life, ruin his family, taking candy from, like, that beautiful little baby, okay? So easy. We're building the wall. The wall is going to be built. It's easy. A lot of politicians said, you can't get Mexico to pay for the wall. I said, oh, it's going to be so easy. Trade is so easy for me. You have your prisoners back. It's so easy. This is question and answer. I said, good, that's easy. I would love to read speeches off of a teleprompter. It is so easy to do.
Words are easy.
We have drugs. We have debt. We have empty factories. That's going to end. That's going to end. So easy. You're fired. That's so easy. We're going to make some unbelievable changes. And it's so easy. We're going to stop the nonsense that's going on, and it's so easy to stop. Come up with something that everybody's happy with.
It's so easy. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. That's an easy one.
Each week we post an Internet Kitty sent in by you, the listeners, to our Facebook page and website. This week's Internet Kitty is Penelope. Penelope is a lovely rescue tortie, and Penelope lives in South Florida, and we want everyone to know in Florida and elsewhere in the path of the storm. We want you all to be very safe.
Be very safe. Listen to
Our thoughts are with you.
Listen to the authorities. Do what you have to do to keep yourself safe.
We love you, and we're thinking about you. And the Biden administration will be helping with great competence once the storm has passed.
Yeah.
In honor of Joe Biden's accomplishments and sacrifice, and also in honor of Kamala's campaign, in this photo, Penelope is wearing her Biden-Harris dark bandana and is happy to support the Democrats as they finally kick Trump's fascist ass out once and for all this November. And of course, Penelope eats freshly poured cat food, our fake sponsor. Whether you serve Pet Store Perfection or Dollar Store Direct, your cat will sit on the kitchen floor and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured.
Freshly poured, freshly poured. Oh my Lord, it's freshly poured.
You can visit Penelope at our Facebook page or website, proleftpod.com, and you can send your internet kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can also write to both of us. Feel free to write us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service. Go, postal unions. Letter on the air, unless you say otherwise. I'm going to be doing postcards to voters this weekend. And if you are feeling any stress about polls, I suggest you do the same. Do postcards, do phone calls, do texting, volunteer.
Yeah.
And instead, and don't worry, get active. That's the cure.
I will say that when I visited the one of the political offices to look for signs and check things out, I noticed that on the refreshment desk there was Coke, there was some 7-Up type deal, and there was a bottle of Jameson. So you can have a pretty good time with your friends who are out there. Getting
after hours,
Harris
get to have a little drinky, huh? Yeah.
Just saying, you'll make friends that you'll love for life. Do not forget our gourmet coffee guidelines. You know what they are by now, right? If you can afford to buy an espresso-based beverage for yourself, buy one for us. This isn't charity, as we talked about during our performance evaluation. This is our job. If you can spare $5 a month, please do so at patreon.com/proleftpod. Please also share our podcast on social media. That's really, really helpful. And if you love this podcast, please try to get someone else to listen as well. And thank you for doing that.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the internet kitties doing this week?
Well, Bluegal, honestly, the internet kitties are disappointed that Kamala Harris refused to get into the specifics of this whole fancy feast versus Blue Buffalo Wilderness cat food controversy. But you know what? They're going to vote for her anyway.
You know she's a freshly poured gal.
Let's think about living.
Think about living.
Let's think about loving.
Think about loving.
Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey.
Lovey-dovey-dovey.
Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.